Design Salvation, episode 82.
This is Design Salvation, your lifeline to better design with Dixie and Annie. Our mission is to share our conversation with you so we can all elevate our work and lifestyle. Welcome to the fold.
Hey, y'all, it's Dixie Stark.
And Annie Lundquist.
We're Design Salvation.
We have a special guest today. We're really excited.
Oh, we sure do.
Keith Miller.
He's with Miller Interior Design. Welcome.
Thank you so much. I love talking with you guys.
Yay, thank you.
Thank
And
you.
just so you all can't see, although we'll post a few little pictures of he's so well dressed.
I know. He's
And
quite
I love
dapper.
And it has personality. It's
I know.
like preppy personality. It's
Sure.
gorgeous.
Very
So
fun.
we-
I run
we-
into Keith a lot at the Design
Well,
Center. We have a
look
good
at
time.
you. I don't.
Yeah.
Dixie. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
we
know.
do.
She has shouted across to me, which it echoes down there, and it's just so exciting. I like run towards her like a movie. Like,
It's because I'm down there all the time.
Yeah, you
But
are.
anyway.
yeah. So we want to get to know you a little better, as do our listeners, and tell us how long you've been doing this gig.
Oh, man. Well, 2020 was supposed to be this grand, exciting moment
Right.
because we were celebrating on the 1st of June our 25th year in business.
25.
Wow, yeah.
People
That's
think I'm
awesome.
25, but no.
Yeah.
I have a very youthful
Exactly.
spirit. But
Yes.
I'm not. I'm twice that.
Yes, as
That's
are
okay. We can join you in
right
that.
on. Yeah, we're all there.
we. Yep.
But no, so that was the adventure starting.
That's a
I'd
milestone.
sworn in blood I would never run my own business. Now I know, don't use absolutes ever.
Yeah.
I just did, but just know. Whatever you think you're not going to do, you might probably find.
So
Very
when
true.
did you know that this was going to be your career? Because I think this is sometimes a hard one to decide I'm going to do that.
Well, I grew up with nothing like this experience in my past environment. No one in my family understands what it is that I'm doing.
Hey,
What are you doing?
neither does my family.
you
so
said
you're,
that, yeah.
you're in company
Isn't
there.
it interesting how we're all made so unique? And that's what I love about humanity. We're all so different.
Yeah.
Very true.
But truly, I have to always credit my older sister, who's just, she's the queen bee of the house. And she went to college, 4 years before I was headed that direction. And she's like, Keith, I have the career for you. And I was like, well, what? She's like, it's called interior design. And this
Oh.
is before shows and TV magazines were exposed
Really?
to me. And I was like, well, what is that? She's like, well, how you're always giving recommendations to mom as to how she's going to furnish the house and she won't listen because she just likes brown and practicality. And I'm like, yeah. She's like, well, people do that. They actually advise people on furnishing homes. She's like, that's not even true. And she's like, do you remember the time when we were looking for you in one of our friends' homes after dinner? We couldn't find you anywhere in the house. We finally found you where? In the closet in the principal suite. You were in the closet because you wanted to know how they store things.
Oh,
Who does
wow.
that?
Yeah.
Professionals. There's actually people who get paid to do that. And I was like, shut up. No way.
I'm doing it.
Sign me up right now. So it was
that's
just
so
like,
cool.
yes,
Okay,
this
so
is
you
it.
did know because she guided you so well, and
Yep.
she knew you well.
And then there's an interesting quotient about who serves people with this particular kind of career. And there tends to be a demographic, and it's, of course, predominantly female. And so it's a little bit interesting to not be that and show up in this calling, really.
Yeah.
That's what it is. And so, being young, I didn't know what I should fit into. I felt like, gosh, I'm going to be around women all the time. That's not an argument at all.
Right.
But also, do I have a place here? Does this right for me? Maybe I should be doing architecture because that's what, quote, men do.
Right,
And I
right.
was like, no. I took this class in school and we were drawing screws and
Oh, yeah.
remediating dirt. And I was like, somebody get me a sucking chest wound or a noose. I just can't do this.
Yeah.
This is horrifying.
Yeah. It's
And,
tedious.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
so there's a last assignment where we're supposed to draw an elevation of a house, just like a line drawing of this little boring ranch. And I was just feverishly going, this deadline is so tight. How can I possibly get all this done? And this girl, turn it in, the professor says, and I'm just feverishly finishing up my details. And the girl pulls her tape up off of her table. She walks by mine. She's like, oh my gosh, were we supposed to put all that detail in? I was like, I don't know. And she's showing me lines, there's
Yeah.
a roof, there's windows, door. And I had like slate tile on my roof there. I had shutters on the
Details.
windows that were paned. and I
The
had
beauty's in the details.
all the details.
Oh,
so I was
yes.
like, there's something about intricate detail and personality that's important to me. I didn't know that was also architecture at the time, really.
Right.
Right.
But I could see there's something about touching people in personal spaces that's really enlivening the source of where you wake up in the morning, how you get going on your day and really meet your calling that was really a part of my essence. This is something I'm supposed to be a part of.
That's really great. Did you grow up around here?
No.
Yeah.
Just to
So you're not from Seattle.
pick a spot on the Mason-Dixon line, and I was all
my
over it from
gosh.
St. Louis to Washington, D.C. to Kentucky and weird random parts of the country.
And now you're in Seattle.
That gives you all of the layers and all of the experiences that help you with your work.
It really does. It's something that I didn't know. You know, when you travel the journey of your life, and you don't know what's going to happen to you and why these things are happening.
Mm-hmm.
But everything works for you as you collect those experiences and realize there's something about all these disparate pieces that are going to come together somehow. And as I moved to Seattle, because we were drawn to the water and mountains and climate, which we never knew existed in the world.
Right.
Our total dream.
If you've been in the middle of the U.S.
Oh, my gosh. We fell in love here, my wife and I, to be here. But we were just really drawn to realizing as we were serving people here, we were seeing the clients who were moving into town, who were as perplexed as we were about the dynamics of housing in Seattle.
Right.
I'm kind of an anthropologist on the side. I'm so curious about how people work. I love understanding how places came to be as they are, and just learning all of what Seattle is and was. It's just such an American story, and it's just insane. It's just so crazy.
We're pioneers out here.
Total pioneers
who haven't figured out how to make a beautiful house all across the world. Yes.
But we're working on it.
But there's so many stories about why, and to understand why, and to be able to really be something of a liaison and a translator for people who come into this culture from other parts of the American country who are like, what am I even looking
you
at?
are needed, honey. I mean, people cannot figure us out.
Yeah.
And because I'm from here, and when I hear about the
And
Seattle,
I'm not from here.
Right, and when I hear about the Seattle freeze, I'm like, no.
I'm like, oh, yes.
Yeah, and I like that's not entirely accurate.
I'm like, oh, yes, it is.
No? Yeah, so we've had our...
But it's an important cultural aspect of who we are. And when you learn the dynamics of what it is that you've created as a culture in a particular region, you can start understanding how best to serve and care for people in that particular way. I'm clearly rather extroverted. I'm very expressive. And there's not so much of that as a predominant personality in this region.
I would agree.
Right.
And it has there are a lot of reasons. There's, first of all, just the temperate climate calms you. I mean, you just are saturated with soothing experiences in all of your visual experience. When you walk around and you look, there is just beauty of nature that just brings awe into your whole being.
Kind of centers you.
That calms you. And, and there's something about that gray cloud that I thought I would never love, but I love it. It's just like this little set blanket. I just want to cozy up next to a fire and read a book. I don't like reading books. I will do it here in Seattle because it's so comfortable.
No, that's an interesting point.
And then we have the cultural influence from the Scandinavian culture.
Yeah.
That came in.
Lots of Scandinavians.
Very similar terrain here for when people were trying to move from whatever they were dissatisfied with in their own home countries. They found the Seattle region like, this feels like home, and we need to build ships here. And so suddenly you get this culture of people who kind of grew up, generations of calm. We don't express ourselves loudly.
No, there's not like this exuberance, or like when we have dinner parties, they're quiet affairs. Yeah. It's not like there's this big storyteller group that comes in and just wows. Like, I think there's a little bit of that culture. Like if you go to a London dinner party, it's like you don't talk about work. You just tell funny stories about how you got drunk and this cute accent. You know what I mean? And that just never happens here.
No.
People are like, tell me about yourself.
Yeah.
And I really want to know.
They're very intense.
And then I'm not going to invite you over for dinner and reciprocate, but I loved my experience.
But you'll say so as a compliment, I learned, which doesn't mean we're going to have dinner next week. It means let's have dinner sometime. It was really great to talk to you right now.
Right.
And once you learn that's not
literal.
It's not personal.
Don't go like I did knocking on the door on the day that was
so literal.
And hear the slippers come up to the door, knowing they're looking for the eye hole, and they're not coming out.
They're not coming out.
I have moved to a different
yes.
in the South and in the East,
you just
do
wide
it, of
open,
course.
It takes
totally different.
It probably takes a couple years to get a dinner invitation for real.
Two is a short time frame. I say there's that 7-year mark where
whoa,
that is true.
Where they finally realize, okay, you're not leaving, so I have to.
No, there has been. So those of us who grew up here were definitely snobby about transplants and felt like you got to earn it. It's sort of like we just had this whole Fortuny thing, and people who buy Fortuny have to earn their right to have it. They have to understand it. And
They
I
have to
think
get
Seattle's
it,
a little bit like that.
Appreciate it, embrace it, all
and
of those things.
decide that you will not cheat on it, moving to California.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, it really
Exactly.
is its own place. And you
It
have
is.
to understand that the climate is what it is.
Mhm.
And there really is, there's reality. People cannot handle
Yes.
the lack of light and can't
Mhm.
stay forever.
Mhm.
But usually what I've seen in a track record is there's kind of like the 7 to 15 year moment where somebody who's the most enduring might finally go, I can't do it. And they
can't
better
do it
go
anymore.
get to the sun.
Uh-huh.
Or they shift into the gear that's necessary
It's
for
so
January and
perfect.
February.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And then you find your ways to
Yeah.
get the sun unless you don't necessarily need it. I'm all sunshine, I guess. It's all inside.
You are
Yeah,
sunshine.
there
So
you
I
go.
wanna
You
talk
got
about-
it. You
I don't
got
need
it.
to go anywhere.
So have you and your wife, Beth, right?
Mhm.
Have y'all been here for 25 years?
No, so we came
Okay.
here almost 20 years ago now.
20
So
years ago,
just a little over
but
19
you're celebrating your 25th year.
in business.
in
Correct.
business.
Yeah.
So that's extraordinary.
And you do have an exuberant style. I mean, I'm sure that you amend it to suit your clients, but you
course.
personally have a lovely, colorful exuberance.
I would love, with kind of an artist's temperament, to say that I can't be defined. I don't
Mhm.
like the ideas of
I
being
hear
confined
that.
by a specific taste or style. And so if somebody's going to ask me, do you have a signature style? My first thing to say is absolutely not. It's your signature. Who are
Mhm.
you? And just the essence of what I'm looking for is that core authenticity of the people that I'm serving. And
Yeah.
they have a unique story. They already have a collection of things that have defined them. I want to know those stories and elevate them and celebrate those in a way that is beautiful.
He
used our word. Elevate.
Elevate it. Yes, for sure. I mean, bringing the light of life into an interior in a way that, as I've mentioned before, just livens you up to be able to wake up from the hardship of life and just a long night of rest to get into the calling of your real life. And when you're energized by your surroundings, there's so much more you're able to contribute to that calling as compared to how much gets drawn from you if you're in disorder and you're in places that simply are not beautiful to you.
I
Right.
think that
It's
that's
so
true.
well
We've talked
said.
about that a lot. That is beautifully
lot.
said because we've talked about how, beauty is often discounted for how much it brings to your
as being
day-to-day.
frivolous and
Yep.
as
And
not
your-
being necessary.
And your
Yeah.
mental health for a lot of us, especially those who are visual, but even people who really don't count themselves as particularly visual, their lives are enhanced.
And they're
by-
surprised when they realize the
Yeah.
difference.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
see the difference because they
Yeah.
brought a professional in or
Right.
whatever it may be.
The interesting thing about beauty is that in our consumer capitalist culture, we're defined by what brings a return on investment. And we really understand practicalities of increased investment, of wealth management, of pursuing things that gather more for you in a financial setting. And we miss a lot of what beauty offers to support that endeavor.
That that
because
factor.
we can be so heavily concentrated
Yes.
on making the dollar count for what
Right.
it should count for.
Yeah, and that's a very American
Very
point of view.
Mindset, yeah.
However, if you check into epigenetic design, we're learning much more about how people thrive in their environments. And it's really cool to survive. We all want to survive. And we're in this horrifying pandemic right now that's teaching us a lot about
Yeah, it is.
how do we love ourselves and our
Yes.
faces closed in. But we know that food, clothing, and shelter obviously give us the survival that we need to kind of just maintain regular living. But humans were not designed for just survival. We're designed to thrive. Everything about us drives us to find some way to get more meaning than just feeding ourselves and putting clothes on our backs and putting a roof over our head. And so investigation in science and research has shown us that there's 3 other qualities that really make life thriving. And that's first includes beauty, which is like, light or color, and design. If you have a designed environment, if you have the light and life of a color and vibrancy, whatever that is, it can even be achromatic if that's what helps you thrive. But you have to have that application and just the idea of beauty. When I'm talking to clients who really don't have that value set, they just like, what are you doing in my house with these numbers? Why would I invest this way? When I look at their lifestyles, I go, tell me why you're on the golf course.
Yeah.
How did you get there?
That's a good point.
I mean, that's you're outside. It's cold.
Chasing a little ball around. I mean, obviously it's beautiful to them.
Yeah. But they'll start realizing I'm escaping, my office world because I need to get out.
I don't want to be there.
Why do you need to get out there? Because we're drawn to be in a natural environment. We're supposed to be out where the life is around us. And that's beauty. And so when you start thinking about your life as to what causes you to desire to move away from your normalcy, whatever that is, where you're driven into this work mode or raising your kids and all the burdens of responsibility, when you see yourself finding a way to escape, it's a time to start asking why.
Why?
Yes, we need rest. We need to take that time. But sometimes if we are so overdoing our hard work, we're missing out on the thriving in our lives because we're ignoring these things.
That's a really good point. I've always said that people in the Northwest, I said this earlier too, they don't want to spend money in their homes. They want to spend it on the big adventure. But I think they are escaping the reality and thinking it's more important to summit a mountain than have a beautiful sofa that I like sitting on every day.
It's really interesting to see how to work that dynamic into this environment because we're spoiled rotten in the Pacific Northwest to look out our window any direction.
It's everywhere.
And see stunning beauty.
Yeah.
And so it can be a lot easier to go, this house is what it is. I'll be outside anyway, or I'll pretend I'm outside.
Right.
Yeah.
Or I'll not put window coverings on my windows and just look outside.
I think that epigenetic thing that you brought up, is that the word you used? Yeah, very cool. I think if we had all been in the caveman era, we would have made our caves more beautiful than, right? I mean, there's something pushing
Well, this all started, if you look at the Lascaux caves and others in France, people are
Oh, the French caves are the best.
Yeah.
I have no idea. I'm making that up. I love French.
with art, and trying to connect, what they envision in their mind with something that's touchable and tangible. And when you have that opportunity as an interior designer to consult someone and educate them and move them into a place of well-being in their home where they're experiencing tactilely this idea of beauty in their immediate surrounding, it's very transformative. It is an investment. We all know this.
Yeah.
But it's because
it is a big investment. Well, and I know just from a more pragmatic standpoint, I had a few years ago, a realtor was here. It was a neighborhood group and we were doing something completely different, but she just brought up the fact if you are so focused on being pragmatic and not about the beauty, if you do invest in the beauty of your home and you do buy that expensive rug, and we all know they are expensive, you actually will get a higher resale for your house. So it's not just the things that stay in place that relate the resale. It's the mood that you create. So when people come in, they go, "Oh, I'll pay that extra whatever for this.
This feels
beautiful,
good.
Yeah, it feels good. I want to live in this kind of atmosphere." So
immediately
if you're just determined to look at it from a capitalist money standpoint, which I understand, and obviously that's part of the equation.
Of course,
there's a lot of benefit to it from that angle too.
Yeah, for sure.
Because I know some people you talk to just can't get away from the practicality.
We all
have those.
Yeah.
And being an extremist, being a maximalist, if I just honestly own up. I mean, I want everything to be pristine and sparkling gold. I want it levitating. I mean, how can I make the most impossible thing a reality is always where I'm headed, right?
I love that.
But it doesn't matter the financial bracket of the people I'm serving. I will find their thresholds. And once I realize that this is going to be my plight in life, rather than trying to explain it away or shine a bright light on some other distraction, just to own the reality that what I do is very complicated and it requires much investment, and not just financial, which is significant, but also with energy and time and patience. This is one of the most complicated business models.
I completely agree.
It requires so much care
and patience and community.
And there's an evolution in the relationship that starts from the beginning when everybody's excited about the idea, through this horrifying adolescent era when I don't know who I am anymore. This is ugly. Nothing worked. And I don't know what this is like. Forget it.
It's like adolescence.
I'm going to kill myself.
Yeah, it's all that. We've all heard the same things.
Just funnel some spa treatments in the middle there.
Right.
Get them past that horrible moment to get to the other side. And when you are able to communicate all through that very difficult process, that this change that you're making, which is excruciating at times, will bring you the life you're seeking. Just hang on.
Yeah, it's just a speed bump in the end because you're going to spend decades enjoying it. But you are not exaggerating. And I have mentioned this once before, ages ago in a podcast, but I had a client Who said he was going to kill himself if the front door was painted black.
He did.
And I had to run around the whole house chasing him down saying, how about brown? How about brown?
Get the red.
Compromise charcoal.
Yeah, charcoal. What would it take?
Yeah. But serving clients
that.
really on every level in my experience, I like having the disparity of economic brackets on the regular so that I can keep fresh on how best to serve each type of person. But it doesn't matter, I've learned, whether they are new to wealth and this is their first try or they've come from generations of wealth, I will find the limits. And so,
of course.
No, they're there. I
exist.
used to have an assistant who used to say all the time, they have more money than God. We're in great shape. And I was be like, oh, no.
Yeah.
Not even
spending
close.
it on hiking gear.
Yeah, exactly.
And
And
nobody.
the Dolby sound system. It's
Right. Priorities. We are so happy to have you. Like,
This
it's
is
just
fun.
refreshing to hear your perspective.
Sure, yeah.
I'm so intrigued and I followed your work and I run into you all the time. And I just was like, wow, this is something that we can offer our listeners
You bet.
just to peek into another perspective other than our own.
You bet.
And I love how much it aligns.
I know, right?
This is a good thing.
We could talk all day.
We could.
Definitely. I so enjoyed it.
But I am
Annie's
going
got
to
some
give you a
questions.
little rapid fire. So
Here we go.
You
Rapid
won't
fire.
fail. It's really
just
short.
real fast.
Okay.
Here you go.
I'm not
Boom,
gonna,
boom, boom.
one word answers. Got it.
One
Okay.
word, just go for it.
Yeah, you won't fail. Trust
You
me.
won't fail. It's going to be so easy.
Actually, there might be a couple words at the last one.
all right.
But okay. Color, no color.
Color.
we knew the answer to that.
Okay, this one's really going to be hard for you, though. Are you ready? This is really tough.
Okay.
Black or white?
White.
Okay. Town or country?
Yes.
I love that.
Town.
Do you have a favorite decade?
The 1940s.
Why?
I can see.
Why? That's the
Yeah.
long answer. Do you want me to answer?
Yeah, I
why?
want the
Yeah,
long
long
answer.
answer.
I'm like, why?
Okay. I'll try to be brief.
Okay,
But
it's good.
we have all of history coming up to the Industrial Revolution of the Victorian era. And there was all of these reactions and responses that came against the Victorian era when machine-made products were mass-producing, which was exciting for the time, but it was losing the life and the spirit of made things by individuals who had a unique skill
Such
set.
a transition.
And so all of these phenomenal works that were happening in response to the Victorian era, the arts and crafts movement, the aesthetic movement, then moving into Art Deco and Nouveau, there's some phenomenal things that happened in that time where the world was changing, that people were looking at what had been and waving it goodbye, and others who were looking at what had been and saying, there's a better way to keep this a part of us because it's the heart and the soul of a human to make things beautifully. And so when you get past the war or in the midst of it, there's this aching and difficult state that humans get into when there's so much crisis and trauma. And in the middle of it, beauty is still ruling. And so when there was a reinvention of the romantic eras of architecture showing up in the 30s, 40s era, it was just so charming. And it just brought heart and spirit to people who were really disparate and really sad about their experiences.
And what they were losing.
And it's melodramatic. It has a lot of romance. It's not necessarily perfectly authentic to the era, but it's just a passion for beauty.
That is a deep,
I love it.
historical
Wasn't
answer.
that good?
I could.
That's
my
why I
answer would
said
be so
why.
pathetic. I'd be like,
It was pretty.
1700s, 1800s, because I might be able to afford that.
Yes.
Okay.
No, that was
do
so
you
well said.
have a pet peeve? Design.
A design pet peeve.
A design pet peeve.
I know, this is kind of hard.
This is a little hard.
Gosh. Being forced into a singular style.
I like
great.
that. I do believe we're here to be adaptive as designers, and we're here to customize our approach for our clients.
Yep.
I think there's just got to be a lot of agility and flexibility.
Indeed, I can do the splits.
Ooh, that's good to know too.
That is good to know.
Everybody make note of that.
Yeah, I wanna
Keith
see
Miller,
that.
he can do the splits for you.
So important.
Well, we thank you so much for
We gotta
joining
have
us.
you
This
back.
was so
You're gonna
much
have to
fun,
come
and we'll
back.
have you back, and we
Please.
might narrow in on a specific topic because he's like a professor.
Clearly, he's like
I
a professor.
I'm
And he
happy.
can dress like one.
There we go. It's all good.
Love it.
Thank you guys so much. What fun.
Yeah, thanks, Keith.
We'll talk to you again soon.
Okay.
Ciao for now.
Ciao for now.
Hey, y'all. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook.
You can also find us at designsalvation.com, where we'll have the past podcasts listed as well as show notes. Hope to see you there.